Hello everyone, welcome to a new session. So for this session we will work on a new problem, and it is product of array except self. So the question says, given an integer array nums, return an array answer such that answer I is equal to the product of all elements of nums except nums I. For example, let's read this example. It is much easier. So we have an array nums. It is 1 2 3 4, and we have an answer here, the output or the answer based on this question. So it says that in the answer array, so for the answer I is the multiplication of all the elements in nums except index I. For example, here index I, let's say I is 0, and index I is 0, so the 0th index of answer should be the result of multiplication of all elements in the array nums. For example, 2 times 3 6, 6 times 4 24. Now let's say I becomes 1, index 1, so the index 1 of answer is the result of multiplication of all elements in nums, in the array nums except index I. I was 1, that means 2, so 1 times 3, 3 times 4 12, and here 8 6, so 8 is 1 times 2, 2 times 3, 6 is 2 times 3. So how can we do that? So there is one very easy option, that when you multiply all the elements and for each index you divide by that number. For example, 1 times 2, 2 times 3, 3 times 4 becomes 24. So now for each index, if you divide 24 by that number, you get that number. For example, 24 divided by 1, it is 24. 24 divided by 2, it is 12. 24 divided by 3, it is 8. 24 divided by 4, it is 6. But the problem is that sometimes you may have some arrays with some value of 0, and you know that you cannot divide by 0, so you face an error. For that reason, it also mentions that do not use division operation. So if you do not use division operation, that means for every index so something like this, something like this, something like this. So if it is 1 2 3 4, so it is our index nums, array nums, sorry, and it is our answer. So okay, let's see why it is not working fine. Okay, so now it is fine. At least we get what we're looking. So now for each index, for example, if you are looking for this index, you need to multiply all the elements after this. If you are looking for this one, for example, you need to get the multiplication of all elements before this and after this. And when you are looking for this one, so you need to get the multiplication of all elements before this and all elements after this. So based on this, we see that, well, here we should have a prefix and a suffix. So using that approach, we can get the multiplication of all elements except that ith element. So let's start doing that. So first, let's create an array of answer, which is the output. So answer equals, so let's make an array. So this one, all its elements can be filled with 1, because 1 multiplied by any number equals that number itself. For that reason, it doesn't affect the result. But for example, if you fill them with 0, 0 multiplied by any number becomes 0. For that reason, you cannot use that. So if it was given for a fixed problem, it is the right way to do this. But what happens if there are some questions or some problem given here in the test cases that has more than 4 elements or less than 4 elements? So for this reason, it is not the best way to have a fixed length. So for this reason, you know that in Python, for example, if you say, let's say, if you say print star 5 times, if you print this, you just multiply it by 5, multiply by 5 like this. Now you print it 5 times. So for that reason, we can use the same concept here, multiply it by the length of given array. So you can say length of nums. So now if the number, this nums, if it has 1 value, it would become 1. If it is 2, it creates the length of 2, something like this, If that is 3, it makes something like this. Now that is dynamic. So we created our output. So now we have, based on our explanation here, we need to have a prefix and a suffix. So both of them initialized with 1. So first, now get prefix for each of the index. So now we are looking for the multiplication of every index, before all the elements before that and all the elements after that. For the prefix, all the elements before that index. So we need to go through all the elements for I in range. So we go until the last elements. So we need to get length of that array, len nums. Okay, so now you every time you get the multiplication of all the elements before the index and put in the array answer. So you say array of answer at index I equals prefix. Prefix is the total multiplication of all the numbers before that index I. So every time that we move from index I to I plus to next index to next index, and we keep the result of their multiplication in the prefix. Prefix multiplication equals nums at index I, like this. Same thing with suffix. Range len nums. So here now we are looking for the suffix. That means we start from the last part of the array. So if it is the last one, so we should come to this one, like to its previous one, and then to this one and to this one. So to move backward, we need to have the negative sign. Each time -1. So we say, okay, so first of all, in order to get this last element, you say -1, and every time the step should be -1, one step its previous. For example, if you said -2, that means you go 2 steps each time. But if you say -1, you come each time 1 step backward. And you also go to until, so you come until the very last element. -1 becomes here at the end. And you know that when you say let me give you a simpler explanation here so that you can get the concept of this -1. What does that mean? So for example, if you say range for example, you just give the value 10. What does this mean? This means from 0 up to 9. That means it doesn't take the last given value. Or if you gave, for example, let's say from 1 to 10, so now it takes from value 1 up to the value of 9, not the 10 itself. So if you want to get number 10 included, so you say 11. That is why I said up to -1. That means I want to become, because I want to check from the last index up to this one. So if I want to become to this part, I have to give a value before this, like this. For example, I said if you want to get included number 10, you give number 11 as the last parameter. I hope now that is clear for you. Okay, so now let's get that in the answer. Answer of I equals suffix answer of I. So now each time we get their multiplication of the suffix, and each time we keep multiplying the suffix. Nums index I started from the last one. So at the end, okay, we return our answer array. Okay, so now let's run and see what happens. Okay, so it says our return is wrong. Yes, you see all the test cases successfully passed. Now let's submit it. Okay, so and it is accepted. So I hope it was clear enough, but still I think you need to trace this part yourself to see how they work. It is a bit confusing in the beginning. For example, this part also, if you know the concept of for example that range, it is clear. But if you see this the first time, you would say like y -1 this, y -1 this, y -1 this one. So this -1 means every one step. For example, if you say 2, it says 2 steps to the reverse side. So for example, and this is one means that we want to include the index 0. For that reason I put -1. Okay, until the next session, have a nice time everyone.